Hello and good day to all of you. So in this lecture, we are going to look at the solar system. Also, we'll be looking at the planets, how many types of planets we have, and how we can remember these planets in a different way. And also, we'll be looking the component of the solar system, which consists of asteroid, comet, and meteoroids. So before I start the lecture, so there are actually two learning outcomes of this lecture. So the first learning outcome or objective of this lecture is to understand the solar system and categories of the planets which we have, like inner, outer, and these that categories. And the second objective or the learning outcome of this lecture is to learn about the planets, satellite, asteroid, meteoroids, and Oort Belt. So which actually makes our solar system. So these all components consist or made a solar system together with all these planets. So let's look at what is the solar system is about. So if you look at the solar system, is actually our solar system consists of our star, which is shown here, and this is our star, just a graphical view, and which is actually sun, and everything bounded to it by the gravity. So when there is a star or there is some element which is keep moving or this rotating, so it has some gravitational power or gravitational force, so that keeps other objects keep moving or make it around this object. So in which we have the Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And also there is a dwarf planet which called Pluto. And there are dozens of moons, hundreds of moons, not dozen actually, hundreds of moons and millions of asteroids, comets, and meteoroids. So if you look at his list of the moon, but it's not. So Earth has 1 moon, Mars has 2, Jupiter 79, Saturn has 82 moons, Uranus has 27, Neptune 14, and Pluto has 5 moons around their orbit. So it's mean there is hundreds of moons around the moons or satellites, we can call it. So this is a close picture of a solar system. So this is the star, which is in case of our solar system is actually sun, which shows in the blue color. So the nearest planet, which is the first planet from in the solar system near to the sun, is Mercury. Then the second one is Venus. Then third one is Mars, Earth. Then the fourth one is Mars actually. Then going beyond, then we have the Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and also Pluto. But Pluto is actually not the anymore planet because it does not follow some of the rules which was defined by the astronomical union. We are going to discuss this one as well. So in solar system, what is actually the star of the solar system? So the solar system is entirely depend on the sun, and this is only the self-luminous object which has its own source of energy. The other planet like Jupiter, Saturn, Earth, Mars, Venus, either any planet does not have self energy or the own light source of light. So only the sun is the object or the star which has their own light. So other planets like we are looking at our Earth, so which happening like day and night, so it's all because of the sun. So the rest of the planets reflect the lights received from the sun. So this is actually a very interesting website which I found from the NASA. So I just have given the link into the description box. So once you click on the link, so then you're going to jump on this web page. So over here you can look, actually we can look at the live solar system. So right now, what's the time? It's this time for today, and this is the date for today. So over here you can see the exactly position of the every planet which you are looking for. So just in case I want to show the Earth, so Earth is actually here. So once you click on this, it will gives the properties of the planet which you are looking for. In other case, like we are looking for Mercury, so if you go into the Mercury, double click on this, so it shows you the real or the observed picture of the Mercury. So if you want to zoom it in, zoom it out, so you can play with this website. So this is a quite interesting, and it actually gives you the real time real time observation of the solar system. So let me put it again. So now here you can go back, and here you can see which orbit, where is the planet right now at this time at your position. So now our Earth is actually reaches to this part. Let's move to the Earth more closely. So it will show you which part we are right now. So let's say right now I'm here in this part of the region. So the other part of the region is black because this is must be at the dark, or in the it's actually the night over there. So you can see some portion which is actually brighter because of the lights, and this portion actually right now I'm staying here. So let me look at my position. It looks like too much cloudy, that's why it's not visible. So this is the equator, and we are somehow here at this point. So just to give you an information about this web page, so it is quite interesting. You can go and look at by yourself as well. So now moving to our lecture slide, so then you can observe the real-time scenario of the solar system. So now we're going to discuss about the planet, how many planets we have in our solar system. So before starting to the number of planets, we need to understand what is actually the planet is about. So a planet is an astronomical body orbiting a star or a stellar remnant that is massive enough to be rounded by its own gravity, and also is not massive enough to cause thermonuclear fusion. And according to the International Astronomical Union, which is IAU, but not all the planetary scientists has cleared its neighboring region of the planet's mass. So in this case, like from the IAU, it has given some definition of the planet. So also, if there are more planets than stars in our galaxy, that's the fact as well. And the current count orbiting our star is actually 8, so which exclude the Pluto planet from our solar system. So the planets are heavenly bodies which revolves around the sun in elliptical orbit. And these planets are actually, earlier it was considered there was 9 planets including the Pluto, but in solar system, but lately one planet called Pluto was declassified for being a planet in our solar system because it does not follow. We are going to discuss that thing as well. So right now we have actually 8 planets in our solar system. So what are those? So one is Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, then Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So I have categorized, or there is a categories of the planet. So we have divided the planets into 2 categories. One of them is called Terrestrial planet, or the second one called is a Jovian planet. And also the another category or the classification we can make is the inner planets and the outer planets, because it's close to the sun, so we call it inner planet. If it is away from the sun, then we call it outer planets. And based on their composition, so why we name terrestrial and Jovian. Terrestrial refer to the related to the land or the planet Earth. So these planets has the similar feature or the description of their subsurface related to the Earth. So that's why we call it terrestrial planet. And the other is outer planet is also called the Jovian planet, which refer to the like god Jova, and Jupiter is a giant. And inside the Jovian planet, we also have subdivided, which we are going to discuss in a minute. So let's look at the planet which is called inner planet or the terrestrial planet. So if you look at the property of these planets, so actually all of the planets are made of rock material, and the surface are solid. I mean, it's not the gaseous material or something. And there's very few moons. So the moon, like Earth has one, Mars has two moons. Venus and Mercury didn't have any moon, and it's relatively smaller than the outer planet, and it does not have any rings like Saturn has a ring, or these type of planets has some rings. So that is also not happening in these type of planets. Then further moving to the terrestrial or inner planet, so you can see the Mercury is actually it's the smallest and the closest to the sun and the shortest orbit in the solar system. Obviously, it's nearby to the sun, so the orbit of the Mercury will be much more lesser. If you look at the Venus, so Venus is actually the hotter planet in the solar system, which is actually, if you look in the centigrade Celsius, so it's 463 degrees Celsius, and the atmosphere is contain carbon dioxide, and there are extensive lava flows. Because of that, the surface of the Venus is very hot, and it's called the hottest planet of the solar system. Then moving to the Earth, so it's also called the world of water because a lot of water is on the surface. 75% is covered with water, and the only planet with the life in universe. So probably the life in other part of the region is also possible, but we are making some experiment, and NASA is working very hard to look at the life on the planets. Okay, so now moving to the planets, which is actually the Jovian planets, the outer planet. So inside Jovian planet, we have further more classification on the Jovian planet. So what are those? So actually we have divided the Jovian planet into two. So one of them is the gas giant planet because it's made of gases. So Jupiter and Saturn come into the gas giant planets, and Uranus and Neptune has a lot of ice on their surface. So that's why we call it ice giant planets. So why do we call it? Because it's predominantly made of helium and hydrogen, these planets gases, and this one is actually the rocky ice and mixture of water, methane and ammonia. So that's why we call it ice giant. Further moving into the planets descriptions, so if you look at the Jupiter, what is actually the main feature of Jupiter is actually it's the largest planet in the solar system, and the Saturn is actually the second largest planet in the solar system and only the planet which has rings around the planet. And the Uranus has a unique rotation, so it rotates on its side. So that's the difference in the solar system. And if you look at the Neptune, so it is actually the outermost planet of the solar system and one of the coldest planet of the solar system. And if you look at the distance from the sun on this planet is actually 4.5 billion kilometers. away from the solar system. So that's why, I mean, when you go far away from the solar system, obviously the heat resistance or heat reaching to the planet will be less. So that's why it's become the colder planet of the solar system, one of the colder. So other than the planets, we have some asteroid. So looking at the asteroid, where does it exist? So asteroid belt is a torus-shaped region in the solar system, which is located roughly between the Jupiter and the Mars. And that is occupied by the great many solid irregular shapes bodies of many size but much smaller than the planet, which is called asteroids, or some scientists also call it minor planets. So you will be looking at the news sometime, then some asteroids are hitting to the surface of the Earth. So once the asteroid or the any objects come into the gravitational field of the Earth, then this will come into the gravitational field of the Earth, then you will have the hitting of this asteroid or meteoroids on the surface of the Earth. So where does it lies exactly, or the roughly between the Jupiter and Mars? Then other than asteroid belt, we also have the Kuiper Belt. The Kuiper Belt is actually the circumstellar disk in the outer solar system. So after all the planets, we have the Oort Belt, which is extending from the orbit of the Neptune, which is this one, and at 30 astronomical unit, so which is quite a big distance, to approximately 50 AU from the Sun. And it is similar to the asteroid belt, but it is far larger, or 20 times as wide and 20 to 200 times as massive. So the Kuiper Belt, which is over here, is actually similar to this asteroid belt, but actually it's more massive and it's much more far away from the solar system. But it contains the similar types of object, but it's in small, or it's bigger in size. Then asteroid belt, Kuiper Belt, then we have the Oort Belt. So the Oort Belt is actually the most distant region of our solar system, and even the nearest object in the Oort clouds are thought to be many times farther from the Sun than the outer reach of the Kuiper Belt. So if you look at here, so this is your Sun. I mean, the Sun is here, and the last planet is here. So it's more farther away from the. If you look at the unit, which is 1 AU, 10 AU, 100 AU, so this is 1000 AU, astronomical unit, so which is quite far away. So at the edge of the solar system, where the gravitational and physical influence of the Sun ends. So this is exactly, I mean, away, or the outer belt of the solar system. So now the question arises, I mean, why the Pluto was not considered as the planet of the solar system? Because the Pluto meets 3 criteria out of 4 criteria given by the International Astronomical Union to define a full-size planet. So what are those 4 criteria? So the first criteria is it should have the orbit around the Sun and has the significant massive mass to be rounded or nearly rounded. So I think the first criteria, which is the orbit of the Sun, it's in the orbit of the Sun, has sufficient mass to be rounded or nearly rounded. So it has sufficient mass. And the third criteria is not a satellite or moon of any other object. Like, if moon cannot be considered as a planet because it's a satellite. So Pluto is also not revolving other than the Sun, but that's why we can consider. So these 3 criteria has been passed by the Pluto, but the 4th criteria has removed the debris and small object from the area around its orbit. So that criteria has not been fulfilled by the Pluto. So that's why we have removed, not we have removed, but International Astronomical Union downgraded the status of Pluto to that of the dwarf planet because it did not meet the criteria of the planet, because it has not cleared its neighboring region of the other object. So that's the criteria which has not been followed by the Pluto. So that's why Pluto is not considered as a part of or the planet of our solar system, but it's a part of solar system. So with that's all. Thank you so much, and I hope you have learned something about the planets and the solar system. So we are going to discuss further in detail each and every planet, what are their feature, their criteria. So please keep tuned on our lectures, and hope to see you in the next lecture. Thank you and have a good day.